Hey guys, I just watched Hex. Special thank you to Jonathan from Rubicon Films for giving me the opportunity to screen the movie. It's nice to feel appreciated. This takes place in 1644 during the English Civil War, and unfortunately, I don't know much about the English Civil War. I did look up that this was a war between the Royalists and the Parliament. During that time period, the fear of the occult was very evident. This time period kind of coincides with the Salem witch trials that we had in the USA. I must admit that I'm not familiar with the English Civil War. Unfortunately, the USAN, I'm saying USAN rather than American because America is huge. There's North America, Central America, and South America. When we say America, when we're specifically talking about the USA, it's kind of a misnomer. That's why I've been saying USAN. So as I was saying, unfortunately, the USAN public school system is very half-assed. It's about teaching just North American history, as in we don't even know much about Canadian or Mexican history, and it's absolutely abysmal when it comes to teaching world history unless you further your education, you go to college and you major in that. 99.9% of the time they're only teaching us Civil War through maybe Cold War. That's like the major chunk. Nothing happened before that apparently, and nothing happened after that. That's just what you need to know. You need to know about George Washington and Kennedy. And that's it. Let me stop. Maybe I should have paid attention more. But I'm sure there's a lot of USANs that can agree with me when we get into situations like this where we're learning about other countries' history through cinema. That said, that was such a non sequitur. Well, I don't know, maybe maybe it goes with this. Or maybe I'm just being hella random like I usually am. Y'all know me by now. And if you're new to the channel, welcome to my train of thought. I'm always like this. I'll be here all week, kids. Back to the movie. This movie is about two soldiers on opposing sides of the war that find themselves trapped in a section of the woods that is controlled by a witch. I really like the story arc in this, how they start out strangers and adversaries, but then find out that they have to work together. The location is beautiful and a character itself in this film. The forest is very lush, very green. There's one location in particular that was really, really beautiful. It was like a ravine and it had plant life growing up on the edges of both sides. It was just really gorgeous. The sound design is amazing in this. From the natural sounds of the forest to the orchestral score. It was all done very, very well. I have no complaints there. The main characters did an extremely excellent job as well because they had a lot to carry on their shoulders. Throughout the majority of the film, it's only just these two characters, and that's very hard to do and maintain people's interest. But the dialogue was written well enough for them to be able to show what they could do. There was a jump scare involving water that really got me. The way it was set up, I kind of knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know what was going to happen, and then when it did, I did literally jump. One weak point I would say in the film were the fight scenes. The initial fight scene did not look like two soldiers. It looked like two LARPers playing around in the woods in a weekend. If you don't know what LARPing is, it's live action role playing. It's a step beyond cosplay. You don't just get the costume on, you actually kind of reenact what that character does. Despite these two actors being very good at what they do as far as acting, the physicality was not there. The fist fight scene looked like it was between two guys who had never fought anyone before in their life. I can overlook these things because it's not an action movie, so that's not what I'm here for. Like if I went to go see Creed, for example, and the fight scenes were crap, I'd be like, okay, this is bad. But this being in a horror, I can overlook that. Another criticism I have is that I could have stood for it to be about 10 to 15 minutes shorter. They had so many great shots, I could see why it would have been hard for them to edit this down because there's so much good that they're working with. It would have been a hard decision of what to cut. The third criticism I have is that it really wasn't very scary. I did previously mention the one jump scare, but one jump scare does not a horror movie truly make. It was very engaging and the two actors did a great job, but it wasn't scary at all. It wasn't even creepy. Could be that I'm just desensitized. If you've seen this movie, please let me know in the comments what you thought about it, and let me know, do you think that I'm desensitized? If you've been one of my subscribers for a while and you've seen a lot of my reviews, do you think I'm desensitized? Do you think that I have a cold, dead heart? Let me know. Also, second question, do you think a horror movie has to be scary to be enjoyable? I actually don't think a horror movie has to be scary in order to be enjoyable. perfect example is Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. That movie is not in the least bit scary or frightening or even creepy, but due to the gore, it is super entertaining. In my opinion, Psycho is not very scary, but the twist was so good at the end, it made the film an instant classic. The ending to this film was a little bit OMG. I was like, really? That was very direct and to the point. I really liked how unexpected it was. What I mean is it's the opposite of formulaic. Original, that's the word. Imagine that in a world of remakes, reimaginings, and readaptations. When you watch as many horror movies as I watch, you have most of the tropes and formulas committed to memory. While I watched this, I really couldn't guess what was going to happen next, and that's a good thing. To recap, excellent location, great cinematography, that was absolutely gorgeous. With location so lush, how could you mess that up? Also, considering that most of the movie seemed to have been filmed with a handheld camera, that is a bit of a feat. As I said earlier, the sound design was really good. I loved hearing the sounds of the forest and how at times, sometimes the sounds of the forest would be much quieter and other times it would be much louder. That kind of sticks with me, especially living in Florida, where during times of the year, certain times of the year, you can hear the cicadas very, very loud outside your window, and then other times of the year it's very quiet. Like, I live in walking distance to a nature reserve, so I'm kind of in it's not rural, but I'll just say there's a lot of nature around me. The score was used sparingly and it was very well done. I'd also like to mention the costume and prop design. These two departments go unsung too often. The two main characters' clothes look great, and super bravo to the person who made that sword sheath with the buckles on it. That is great work. This is actually the first film, I'm gonna have to look at my phone to remember this so I can say it correctly, by writer-directors George Popoff and Jonathan Russell. They really did an excellent job writing, directing, working with a handheld camera, with a cast of only about 4 actors in a forest, and made a better movie than a lot of companies in Hollywood that are putting $20 million into a production and cranking out garbage after trash after garbage. I'm looking directly at you, the Bye Bye Man, or producers of the Bye Bye Man. I actually look forward to seeing more from these two guys, and thank you again to Rubicon Films for letting me screen the movie Hex. And just so people know, just because someone sends me a screener doesn't mean I'm automatically going to give them a good review. I gave this movie a good review because it's a good movie. If the movie was trash, I would just say it's trash, because I'm not getting paid by any studios, so it's no sweat off my back to say something is trash. So just so you know, in the future, for people who are or might plan to send me something, hedge your bets. Don't think automatically that you're gonna get an awesome review because you reached out to me. I'm being honest because that's what as a critic, that's what you're supposed to do. And this is why critics should not ever be paid directly by movie companies, because you're gonna ruin their believability and their honestness, their integrity. That's the word I'm looking for. It would take away from their integrity. So just so you know, just because I'm saying thank you to a production company for giving me the opportunity to screen a film does not mean that, oh, she's automatically gonna give it a positive review. No, not gonna happen. Anyways, just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it, and just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Did you get to see Hex? If you did, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Bye.